So, Jared,
Yes.
why do pudding commercials always show someone smiling?
This is funny. This is a pudding joke. That's great. I don't know.
You don't smile after pudding. You stare into the middle distance and whisper, "What have I done?"
Yeah. I agree. Pudding's not that great.
I got another one. I had to, because when I was looking, I was like, I had to.
Yeah.
What is the deal with pudding? It's the only food where the texture says "trust me" and the color says "don't."
Yeah. Very true. That sounds like a Seinfeld one. Because what's the deal?
What's the deal with these people?
Yeah.
Pudding.
It's good. That's like the only time you can do a pudding joke. Like, I don't think we're going to ever do another movie that has to do with pudding.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to Screen Time Film, a podcast where we review movies, but specifically movies by director and in their whole filmography in chronological order. So their first film to most recent.
Yep.
We are currently discussing P.T. Anderson's films. So, Jared, I'm a podcaster. What kind of help do you think I could give you?
Right. Of course.
So, for those of you who don't know or new around here, my name is Josh, and this is my co-host and brother, Jared.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are just crazy in this world, I think.
I don't think I know. People are crazy.
Yeah, but that's what he says, though.
Yeah. I also have, and I liked was, I don't know if there's anything wrong with, because I don't know what other people are.
That's my other one I had down. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So today we are discussing the film Punch Drunk Love, released in 2002, rated R, hour and 35 minutes, which is a breath of fresh air after 3 hours and something last
Over
week.
3 hours, yeah, Magnolia.
All right, so a socially frustrated Barry Egan calls a phone sex line to curb his loneliness. Little does he know it will land him in deep trouble and will jeopardize his burgeoning romance with mysterious Lena.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so once again, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Again, cinematographer Robert Elswit.
Yep.
Again, composer John Bryan.
Yeah.
Production costs. This is one thing that changes. What do you think?
Also, that's cool that, so he's written and obviously directed all these, but he's written all of them so far too.
Yeah. I don't even think there was any co-writers on any of them either.
I think he did it all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This has to be pretty cheap. This one's like very contained.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy going on. What was last? I don't remember what Magnolia was.
Magnolia. Well, just the length of that. I mean, Magnolia is 2 of these, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Magnolia was 37 million.
And that was way more cast than this.
Yeah.
That was 27?
37.
37. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I wrote down, I always write something down, but then I'm like, then I always try to think about it and see if I want to change it. But no, I'm going to go with what I wrote down. 20 million.
It was close, 25 million, which is also kind of crazy to think.
That's kind of high for this,
Yeah.
it seems.
Well, I guess if you think about between the two, even though the cut was longer, I mean, I don't know how many production days there were.
Right.
They might not be that drastically different in production days. They just,
Yeah.
I don't know. There could have been a lot more they shot and they just didn't use in this, and
True.
So don't know. No nominations for any Academy Awards. We've got Adam Sandler, Don McManus, Emily Watson, Luis Guzman,
Yep.
Mary Lynn Razgbu. How do you say her last name?
I don't know who that is.
Razgbub. You don't know? That's the girl from It was his sister that was also in like 24.
Oh,
Right?
that's who that was. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yep. The legend.
Yeah. This is the first one we didn't have. What's the name that was in Heart 8? The first.
Yeah. Philip Baker Hall.
Yeah, he has at least had some kind of
Yeah.
role. This is the first
That's
time
true.
he's not been in one. Yeah. So, but so far, Philip Seymour Hoffman has been in all of them at some level.
Yes. Yeah.
Very small cameo in a few, but yeah. All right. So, overall thoughts on this film?
I'm wondering because I don't remember if you said you've seen this before. Because I have.
I had not
You
seen this
haven't?
film. No, I
Okay.
mentioned that last week.
All right. Well, you should go first then, since you since you have not
All
seen
right.
it before.
I liked it all right.
Okay.
The film itself, like I liked the idea of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Just this guy that's kind of socially awkward and like that. Like I liked the way they kind of represented the family, and like the way the sisters were kind of just ridiculously overbearing on him.
Yeah.
And then, but there's something about like just the, like kind of like the, I don't know, say the pacing or the vibe. Like there's something there that, just like that didn't like work for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was just kind of like, yeah, there's a little, and it was just like a little bit too much randomness in some of the stuff that like kind of just like, but yeah, but the general idea, the plot, that the stuff with the relationship and then the stuff with the hotline call and that stuff, like, that was good and different. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I like all that stuff. But I know what you mean. Because I agree with you on that. There is like, I don't really know how to describe it either. But yeah, it is.
just kind of a weird.
There is a weirdness to it. But I would say like this is definitely PTA's like indie artsy type of movie. You know, every director, I feel like, not every director, but a lot of them like to do a movie like this. And that's for sure what this is. So that plays into some of like just the randomness of this movie. So like, and I already knew that even when I watched it the first time, but, and I liked it when I first watched it. I think what's weird is watching this again, because I only saw it like around when it first came out. I think this time watching it, I still liked it, but there was parts of it that I liked less than I did the first time. But then there was parts of it I liked more. So yeah,
Gotcha.
kind of mixed. Since I first watched it, but also I don't remember everything that was like 20 years ago, probably when I watched it. But yeah, I still like it though. But I agree with you. There is a strangeness to it. But if you know that going into it, I guess that helps. But yeah, I don't know. But I think what really helps the enjoyment is the length of this movie, though. Like that was nice. Like at the end, just being like, okay, like that felt like a good runtime for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because it was when did you say it was? Like I think when we hit credits, it wasn't even an hour and a half. It was like almost.
I mean, it says an hour and 35 minutes, but yeah.
I think it was like, yeah. Anyway, but
Right. Well,
I think so far, of his movies that we've covered, I think this is the one I like the least.
yes, I agree.
But I still like, especially some specific moments which we can talk about. I really liked, but
All right. Well, let's. So like right off the bat, like it kind of, it's weird. Like like looking back on the beginning, but it's like it's a rough start just because you're like, what the heck am I watching?
Yeah.
And you just kind of get dumped into Barry Egan's world here, and you're not even sure what the heck he does, which is the one thing. It kind of like you're kind of like, well, what the heck does he even his business? What is it? And you don't really know.
No,
they never say what it is.
I was thinking about that more this time when I watched it. I like the way he described it to her though, or no, to the lady on the phone call, where he's like, I'm diversifying, and then what does he say? He's like, I don't know. He just talks about, he goes in depth where he's like, oh, I'm confident that I'm gonna be like moving up. It was funny the way he worded it.
Yeah, he said something about there's been a few roadblocks, but I'll work through them. Yeah. He said that.
The opening of this movie definitely is strange though, and I do like the very beginning, like starting with him on this phone call. But then obviously the piano or the harmonium is the instrument, and all that, and even when he grabs it, just how like weird that is, and brings it inside. But I like this instrument, and I was thinking about it. I think Meemaw had one of these because I remember playing it back in the day, and I remember the foot pedal thing because there's usually this one that he had, it was like a handle thing that you use, which kind of makes the I don't know, the air for it to like play kind of like
so more like an accordion.
Kind of, yeah. I don't remember when it was made and like how it all works, but then so there's like the hand thing, but then you can only play with one hand at the time. So then they had the foot one that does the same thing, which is the one that Mimo had. I remember this foot, but hers was also more of an organ, so maybe, I don't know. Anyway, but really cool sounding instrument though. I like this thing. It's cool. But I don't know if you have a note about this, but I was going to ask you of like, kind of like the pretentious question of this movie is like, what does this harmonium represent? Because it seems like they're trying to make this like, oh, this is a thing, because it's throughout the whole thing, and obviously at the end also.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it's
because it seems like it's supposed to represent something.
Yeah, I mean, you would assume. I don't know. I mean, something around his, like his, his soul or heart, like it's like, because then he gives it to Lena,
yeah,
at the end, right? Gives it to her as a gift.
Yep.
And so probably something along those lines of.
I think that's part of it. I think it also has to do with like he does normally either playing on it or carrying it around with like different growth moments in this film. So like that's what I thought about the most. I was like, that's kind of when we see the piano the most, is when he has these kind of big moments in his life that he does something with, whether it's good or bad. Also, just a quick one. I love that he has the clapper, because I feel like that was definitely a early 2000s thing. It was just funny to see, because I hadn't seen that in a while.
It was around longer than that.
Yeah, maybe it was in the 90s. I don't know.
It was.
I remember it more in the early 2000s, but yeah.
Yeah, he has that to turn the lights on. Yeah. Yeah, so like, and then and it's just weird that, because it's like he walks out there because he sees it, right, the piano, and then he just like observes a car crash and flip over, which is like,
yes,
so random, and like,
yeah.
It's like, what was the point of that?
I don't know. I guess like not for him, but I guess for you as a viewer watching it, a foreshadowing moment. for the car wreck later. Maybe. I don't know. That's something I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I mean, yeah, because later he gets in a car
Yeah.
accident, but yeah.
I do want to just say, like, shout out to Adam Sandler in this movie, because we know he's such a great comedic actor, but he does great with drama too.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I think, like one of his first where he did that. But then obviously, Uncut Gems is the movie that, like, he's incredible in that movie. I love that movie anyway, but that was the movie I really saw where I was just like, oh yeah, he's amazing at doing this type of thing. But I think he's really great in this also, because he's not doing the Adam Sandler thing. Like, there's maybe tiny moments where you see it, kind of the awkwardness that he has in some of his other characters. But no, I mean, this is a very specific character he's doing, and yeah, just a great performance, I thought.
So then we get to the call, the phone sex line.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, because that was right after he had asked his brother-in-law that's a dentist for help. But that was a funny moment, like,
Yeah.
where my quote came from earlier, because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, you idiot, like, you know, all your sisters are going to know whatever you say to him, even though he's like, thinks it's patient confidentiality.
Yes.
But yeah, and then, I mean, when just thinking right before that, when he destroys all the sliding glass doors,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, okay.
Dude, that moment and the moment later when he's on his first date with
In the bathroom.
Lena, that was the two parts where I thought was like the funniest as far as like physically what he does in this movie. Yeah.
But
And actually even the interaction after it is really funny with the manager.
yeah. Did
Where
you
he's
do
just
that?
like-
He's like, no.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good moment.
Yeah. But yeah, so the phone, so I thought he was calling the sex line to like just have somebody to talk to, or like more like therapy.
That's
Not-
what it seems like when it starts, yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I assumed as a viewer. And then, but then it's like quickly escalates to, but immediately they're asking for his credit card number and ask for his social security number.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not normal. 'Cause
Well, the credit card thing, but not Social Security.
the credit card, like, but like, anyway, like back then, I guess, yeah, that's the way you have to do it. I mean, nowadays, like,
Right. Yeah. No, you got to think
be
of it
different
from
in
the
it.
early 2000s.
But
Yeah.
or whenever it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like not necessarily present day, even when probably this film came out.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you had to, even all the commercials back then you would see, and you'd have to call and then put in your number, credit card number, or I guess, or you could like dial it on the thing, like your number. But yeah, I mean, that was a common thing. But yeah, all the other stuff she asks is like, yeah, that's when you first are like, oh, this is not good. And you see him hesitate a little bit, but then he still goes through with it.
But yeah, so so like I'm kind of curious in trivia, like where this came from, this like subplot,
The story or idea.
yeah, the subplot for like the scam, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I was just thinking of like, you know, from a writing standpoint, like, because it's not the main story. The main story is his relationship with Lena, right?
Yeah, but you got to have some conflict with that. So it's like you got to
Right.
introduce something.
Yeah, right. You want some kind of conflict, but it doesn't have to be that kind of conflict.
No, that is a very random. Yeah.
But not saying it's a bad decision. I was just like, it's like, where does that come from? And it just made, when I was watching, I was like thinking back with Hard 8, he was talking about how they used to run those scams that scam
Right.
for real. So then I'm like, is
Was
this
this an
a real
experience?
scam? Like he got scammed or somebody you knew got scammed or this way? And like,
That would
maybe
be
not-
interesting if
maybe
this
not
was
to
like
the-
a true.
maybe not to the extreme, like
Right.
with the beating people up, but
That would be interesting though if it was an experience he either had or someone he knew like told him about. That would be That would be crazy. I only have two final notes, but my next one is when like she first calls back and like starts threatening him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have anything before that or not, but
Well, I was just gonna then talk about Lena and when she shows up, and you're like, now it makes it, because also again, in the beginning, you're like, why is this lady so quick to trust him with the keys? And can you, and then, and of course, later you find out she actually already knew he was there, and she did that all just to meet him because of his sister, and she worked with his sister. But like at the beginning, you're like, what the heck? Like, what are you? Why are you a completely stranger? But also liked out like she's, you get right off the bat, you're like, oh, she's kind of awkward like him. Like she's not completely.
Yeah, it's a good match.
Mm-hmm. The question is, what do you think she sees in him? That's why she's so drawn to him.
Oh, I don't know, because they don't really get into that much, so I don't really know.
Because no matter how weird he is, she still seems to be like okay with it.
Yeah.
But then she was mainly basing it off initially his picture, right? This her sister had, as she said.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think some of it has to do with what you already mentioned, like the commonality they have with like the awkwardness. So, I mean, I think that's part of it at least. But yeah, I don't know besides that. Because the best thing is that like some of the weirdest stuff he does, like on their first day explaining to her the whole pudding and airplane thing, which I love. That like that whole little thing is just great.
That stuff, like I don't know if that one specifically, but that stuff definitally happened.
Oh, for sure.
Like these loopholes. And that stuff that like
the sweepstake stuff. Yeah. And then where he keeps mentioning to her like, yeah, it's like I gotta do it now though, because it's like, yeah, this is obviously a marketing error. He's like, I gotta take advantage of it now. And then what does he say? Basically, like the amount would be like flying for free for like the rest of your life.
Yes,
that's crazy.
So whatever it was, like $6,000 worth of pudding.
Yeah,
and then you'd have enough airline miles to fly.
Yeah, that's the part that I didn't remember from watching it originally. Like that, it was that like little part of it, like that whole sweepstakes thing, but also the whole like sex line thing in that plot. I don't remember that playing as heavily into the story in general. It's from the first time I watched this movie, but anyway, because so there was still parts that like I kind of forgot about watching this time, which was nice to revisit. But I like the sweepstakes thing especially. Also, it was kind of nostalgic because like the frozen meals thing, like I'm like I remember him looking exactly like that then. Like I have a very vivid memory of it. So
yeah, they don't make them like they used to.
No. I mean, also it's crazy the price of them compared to 2025, but
this is true. So you said like the first date they finally go on is because she couldn't go to the family get together, and then so they go on the first date, and like we talked about, that's on then of course the second time we see him go off the handle and destroy the bathroom,
and it's just from like stuff his sisters have said about him, just makes him so angry. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. Well, they are pretty obnoxious.
Oh, I know. I understood. But it's just funny what all he does in the bathroom as a response to it. But I get it though.
And then she has to go, and so he does his grand gesture of flying to Hawaii,
Yeah.
and it's gets him out of his comfort zone, which is always, yeah. I mean, guys do stupid stuff for girls.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a part of this movie. And that's a little going into themes and messaging. Yeah, something like the crazy stuff that specifically guys will do if they start, at the beginning, especially when they first start liking a girl. Yeah. My note is about, because I think at this point this would definitely happen to where, or no, I guess it's around the middle of the movie where the girl calls him back and is threatening him. And from there, and like from that point and a little afterwards, where he's walking around, they do such a great job in this section with making it feel so stressful and chaotic, especially in this moment, like through the camera movements, the framing, the score even, which I have a lot of not a lot of notes about the score, but the score is crazy in this. And even the dialogue in that section, but it's just like you could really feel the panic in him in that moment.
Yeah. Well, and I guess they got mad because he canceled his credit card, because she called him back in the morning right away and wanted to ask him to help her out and send her some money.
Oh, that's right.
And
that's
he's
what
like,
happens
I don't
first.
have any money. And then like, no, and she's like, well, you lied to me. You said you had your own business and you were doing well.
Yeah.
And then he calls, like, as soon as he gets to the office, he calls and cancels his credit card, gets a new number, and which means then they can't process it anymore. And so he fixed that problem. But then, yeah. And I was going to say about the trip to Hawaii. I liked that he finally felt like he was doing something that he wanted to do, and not doing stuff out of just like fear or whatever else told him to do.
Yeah.
Like it was because he kind of like basically just was going about his life, and it seemed like his sisters pretty much dictate a lot of what he does, and then everything else is kind of living in like this fear and loneliness. And so I thought that was good. And then it was nice to also see even, kind of, he keeps peeling back the layers, and she likes him anyway. And then she even lies to his sister for him, basically, because she's like on the phone.
Yeah.
While they're there.
Yeah. 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 That was a good moment.
Yeah. So then eventually the mattress man sends some goons after him, and he had the withdrawing money from the ATM cash. That was.
This movie's so weird. Just the way they approach him. But then also the moment later with the car crash too.
Yeah.
It's just so strange, but kind of it goes along with like the weird style, or like indie artsy style of the movie. But it's just like these encounters are so weird, the way they film it and the way they do it. But
yep. Yeah, but yeah, I did like to see this shift. So like before he goes to Hawaii, and they come after, but then after he goes to Hawaii and they're back, and then she's coming over, and then he gets hit by the rear or side swipe him. And then at this point he's like, oh, you don't do that to my woman, kind of thing. And he gets out. And
that moment's great. Yeah.
And he's just like, because he's got the rage to deal with these guys, because you've seen it. Yeah. So it's so satisfying as a viewer to see him finally like unleash on them. And and then ultimately tracking down, which is hilarious. He goes about, because they're in Utah, they're not even in California, originally she says she is. And so tracking them down, and then driving all the way to Utah to find the mattress man.
Well, I was to say, this is my final note is, so Barry and Dean is Philip Seymour Hoffman in this, and their phone conversation first and then their conversation when they finally meet is like the best scenes in the movie, I think,
Yeah.
and the funniest. Like just their interaction, because Philip Seymour Hoffman in this too, just the way he reacts to him also is just hilarious. Like just how mad he gets is so funny. And then yeah, their confrontation is just, I think, one of the funniest and best moments of the movie.
Yes, and then he's like, "That's that. That's
Mhm.
that."
But then they do that. They do a quick, like he turns around again one more time, and then I think Dean's like, "Oh yeah, never mind. Like I'm good. Like that's that." Like,
That's that. Because yeah, he sees the rage in him.
it was funny.
It's like the only thing is you kind of want to see him punch him. So
Oh yeah.
so you're like, but it's. I mean, I understand from a. Like I feel like it was the right choice from like just to kind of because it's like you gave us that like the filmmaker gave us that with the guys in the truck, and then so by the time you got to this guy, it's like you don't want to turn it. It doesn't need to be John Wick. So like, so in some ways it's like it's good to kind of throw that curveball then to be like, oh, he could he is going to be able to control himself if the guy just says what he wants him to say, then he's gonna move on.
I also appreciate that the ending, they wrapped up this movie like extremely quick, which I thought was good.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, so how'd you feel about the final hug and the line, "He needs me"?
Was that the final line?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I don't know. What? So, are you thinking that it's not just like a happily ever after ending?
I don't know. There's definitely, I feel like it was definitely left to,
Yeah,
kind of like open it a little bit more open.
yeah, which is good. Yeah, which is a good way to do it. Yeah, I don't remember that being the final line. That's interesting.
Well, if like it was the final.
No, but I don't remember her saying that. But okay, that's interesting. Well, I mean, they're definitely similar and compatible, but yeah, maybe it won't all be sunshine and rainbows with them. I don't know. What do you think of it?
I don't know. I just, like I said, I mean, it's nice that they ended up together. It was kind of what you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I think
Maybe it's because I was focused on, because like the very final thing is he's playing the harmonium again, and she comes up behind him. Right? Is that when she says it? I don't know,
Is that
because I
what
just
she
remember
said?
that being the final moment.
yeah, if I'm about.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
But
remember.
anyway,
Whereas-
that was a really cool. I really like that. Like to end on that moment was nice.
Back with the harmonium. Which, yeah.
Which, I mean, at least the way I looked at it, that still proves my point to where like that's what the harmonium is like his different growth moments in his life. I don't know. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Or I guess also moments where he is what's the word? I guess he's getting out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, which is growth.
Sure, yeah, but I mean, yeah, the different moments, yeah, it kind of all, yeah.
Yeah. It's the only way you can grow.
True.
All right, let's get into a little cinematography.
Yeah.
So color. So note about like the blue suit.
Oh,
Like he's got the blue suit like half the time until he's got his blue suit on. And then the the bear like office like just seemed very you felt the loneliness. He was there in the dark in the beginning. Like you I forgot to mention like those guys are like destroying everything. Like the one scene like in the in the warehouse or whatever it is, like, and they're just like destroying. They keep running into things and breaking things.
Oh yeah.
And then because she's like talking to him and she's like, is that and he's like, oh, it's fine.
Oh, that's right.
But it's like, we still don't really, like I said, we don't know what he was actually doing.
Yeah. I really like how colorful this film is, and the colors pop at different times, like his blue suit. I think that's a cool choice. Also, I noticed different points in the movie that there was like really intentional framing and where people were standing in the frame. I don't know. I'm sure you noticed that too, because you always look at this kind of stuff. But I noticed at different points in this, because there's a moment where I think it was him and his sister, or maybe him and Lena, were standing talking to each other, and they were like at a corner of a room or like a wall, and there was like a line in between them. So it's like stuff like that, which I know like you talk a lot about, and like they did that a ton in Severance and different shows like that. But like, yeah, so I noticed that, and this was really cool for, I guess, storytelling moments.
Yeah. Yeah, it was to me, it was noticing the color shift of like, as the story progresses, it gets warmer. Like in the beginning, it's real cool and to color temperature wise on the tint of the color grade, and then it slowly warmed up, and by the end, it's not so.
Yeah, that's true. My only other thing is, after their first date when they're driving in the car, I thought it was really cool. It was like just like really saturated blue, and in that moment, it was like all washed out in blue. It looked, and it was just it looked cool in that moment.
Yeah, there's like there's things that like very, I think, of the times when this was made. That like in where
early 2000s. There's like,
well, just like the like lightly cleansed flare stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like, and one of the most I would say like offending examples was like when he eventually confronts Philip Seymour Hoffman's.
Yeah.
And he's like standing there, and because he looks over a couple times, right? And like the lady's doing his hair, and he looks over, and you don't know exactly. You assume but and when they finally reveal him, he's like down this hall, and there's like this just the camera kind of goes, and kind of catches the light to get the lens flare that's like right behind him, and it's like, I mean, it's like the only way that happens is if you stick like a bright light right behind the guy, right. And he, so it's very intentional, not natural at all.
Okay.
And I say this with like, I've been there, done that. Like, yeah, like it's just like, it feels very of the times. Like again, when I was making stuff back in earlier mid 2000s, and yeah, we would do that intentionally. You you backlight somebody with a light that'll catch right into the lens, so you get the cool lens flare. And it's like, and there was a lot of that in this. Most times a little more subtle than that, but that moment it's like very, and it's like one of those things where, again, I don't fault them because at the time that was like a trendy kind of thing to do.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
But it definitely dates this, like from a look standpoint, from me, like watching it, I was like, oh, like it rubs me a little the wrong way now. And again, I was guilty of doing it, so I'm not blaming, but just that was like a thing I noticed. And then the thing that, again, that I didn't know where to put this, so I put it more in here than, the like weird color transition things that are stuck randomly in the movie. Just,
I thought it looked cool, but yeah, I mean, it's really random. But Yeah, I don't really know the reason why they wanted to do that, but I thought it was cool. You didn't like it?
Well, I mean, it's just
It adds to the indie artsy
yeah.
movie
That's,
film.
that's
Yeah.
why I don't like that, because I
Are you
just don't.
seeing like they're trying to do that too much with this movie?
It's just to me that's the stuff I don't like.
Right.
And I it's what I don't like about indie films, when people are just
Yeah.
trying to be
Trying to be that
different just to be different. And I get it. Sometimes you need to try experiment things, but like that's the thing, you experiment in post and then you're like, oh, it doesn't work. Let's not do it. It's to me like
right. And they kept the
they
decision.
kept it in,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, and I don't know. That's just for me. I feel like
No, I
another
get
thing
that.
that maybe dates it, and maybe at the time it was like a trendy thing to do. I don't know. That's a less aware thing for me. But
I kept thinking of because I think that was around this time too, Eternal Sunshine, because has a lot of similarities. I think that movie's I think is better than this, but that was another like huge, like big, I think early 2000s, like kind of indie artsy movie, but and did a lot of creative things, but I think that movie did it better. But anyway, but
Yeah.
it reminded me of that movie in this.
so here's a question: do you think this film would work if you took out a lot of these, like the indie flourishes that we're talking about? If you took out some of that stuff and just made it like a little more like traditionally made?
Yeah, it would still work.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
yeah,
So then, yeah, they were just pretentious.
yeah. There you go.
I'm just gonna,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just
Film-
do
film
some
snob.
throw some abstract things in here just
Yes.
because I can, because I'm a famous enough director now that I can get away with it, and then the studios won't yell at me.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
So then there's a note I had note about the final.
Okay.
So how did it make you feel? Did you feel at the end of the end shot? How that ending shot where he's playing the harmonium and she's kind of behind him and embraces him.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel?
I don't know how it made me feel, but I liked it as a final shot. I thought it was satisfying and a good ending.
Well, there you go. That's a feeling. Satisfaction is a feeling.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
So
I felt satisfied.
Made you feel satisfied. All right.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you feel about it? How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it felt like yes, there was a future for them, and it felt like it was like kind of like setting things up for like leaving on a, I'll say high note, but like kind of leaving like this hopeful, like for their relationship, right? Like it felt like it was like, no, they found the ones, like they kind of found each other, right? Like in this thing. So I liked it. I was just, it's visually a little different. The other note I had about it was like they definitely brought the camera to a much calmer feel than it had been most of the film.
Oh yeah.
In that too. So there's like a stillness there that, but also kind of says that, right? Like it kind of says like there's peace in finding the person that kind of, I don't say completes you, but like kind of person that kind of can share and like you kind of fit in each other's world.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the better way to say it in this.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on cinematography?
No.
Yeah. Let's get into the music and / score. I'm sure, like you said, you have some stuff to talk about. Only just two notes, because one, I didn't hear the little
Oh, we didn't have the thing.
that's
Okay.
been in there. The thing from Hard 8 that was in the.
All right. It was in all three so far. You said.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And I stand by that.
Interesting. All right. So
But that little music flourish was not in this that I caught it anywhere. And again, like I said, I probably even pick it on it because I watched the films with my AirPods in, so you get that really like really everything's really well balanced in your ears.
Yeah, because I didn't pick it up on any of these.
Yeah.
But like I said, I watch it in just like a TV and a sound bar.
Yeah.
So that's very different than headphones. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I mentioned was like, again, with the harmonium.
Yep.
I also felt like when you're talking about like anytime you interacted with it, there was like a music that cut, but it filled into the score, right? Like it was like always,
Oh yeah.
and I always I thought that was cool. Something I noticed, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That like, it's like he's playing it, but it's like part of the score, and it shifted things and kind of, again, speaking to your point about it, like it kind of following his growth as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a good job with that. This score, yeah, overall is very unique. There's moments where it's like very classical Hollywood sounding, which is cool. But then really like, well, and with like, then there'd be moments where it'd be like lots of woodwinds and like flute. And then at times, yeah, you get obviously the harmonium sound, which is kind of like an organ, kind of woodwindish. But then there's moments where it was like extremely experimental with like even just like random sounds. So they did a lot in this. I thought it was cool though. I liked all of it, but it was just interesting. It was very different. But also like one of the moments I mentioned, like when he's really stressed out, like they make it pretty chaotic sounding even with the score with like random sounds. So, which is cool. So yeah. Shout out to John Brion, whatever, however you say it again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's yeah, when we finish this up, I got to play those for you now. I
Yeah,
feel
you
like,
do.
Cuz like
Yeah.
and then I'm still curious to see if it pops up again even though it's not in this film.
Good, yeah.
Cuz I think the music was so key in this film
Yeah, oh yeah.
as part of it that didn't make sense to use it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm curious to see if we hear it again.
Yeah.
All right, so themes and messages. I think again, sometimes I feel like we end up talking about this and kind of throughout as we're discussing, but kind of wrapping that up. I think I kind of wrote down like that, and it kind of, I mean, we've spoken about this, but it's not the way I worded it here a little bit, but like that he discovered that finding love in a person loving him back, like kind of who he is, gave him the courage and strength to kind of face the world instead of like cowering like he was in the beginning and kind of being like more just being okay in his own skin.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this like I was thinking about, but I mean, one that we already touched on a little bit also is like love and what that does to a person, and especially how chaotic or crazy it can be at the beginning of it. And then kind of the other little things that are kind of a theme through the whole movie is loneliness, isolation for him especially, but then self-improvement and transformation, which we see with him. But then also I think that's part of what the harmonium represents.
Right.
So.
All right. Let's get a little of IMDb trivia.
Yep.
So the subplot of the film about the frequent flyer miles, it came from an article in Time magazine about David Phillips, University of California civil engineer who stumbled upon a lucrative frequent flyer promotion
Okay.
by purchasing 12,150 cups of Healthy Choice pudding for $3,000. He accumulated 1.25 million air miles.
All right. So
that
something
was based on a true. Then
yeah, that was it. Yeah. So it was just something that he read about, or was an article?
Yeah,
about
article
it?
in Time
Cool.
magazine. Yeah.
Okay. I figured it had to have. Yeah, someone had to have done it for real. Like, at one point.
During the scene where Barry is at the supermarket looking for the cheapest Healthy Choice, he's being followed by out of a focus character in a red outfit.
Mm.
and it's Lena before they've even been introduced. So she's
really?
definitely like
Just stalking him?
Well,
I didn't
like
even
I
know
didn't
that.
catch on that, but like the other stuff, like seeing a picture of him, and then like she really brought the car there and made
Right.
that appointment just so she would run into him, and so really she's a little creepy stalkerish
Yeah.
already, and then this adds to that.
That's crazy. I did not. If I watch this movie again, I'm going to have to make sure to look out for that.
Says at one point in the film, Adam Sandler Barry is being followed by the Steadicam as he talks on the phone. During one take, the front of the camera accidentally bumped into a table and knocked the camera briefly, causing the shot to jump from Sandler to an image of an out of focus piece of the set and then quickly readjust. P.T. Anderson loved the effect and wanted to do it again, so the crew did more takes right at the same point in the dialogue. They smacked the front of the matte box on the camera to reproduce the effect. That's crazy.
I think that's cool when stuff like that happens,
Yeah.
where it's like an accident, but then you see it and you're like, oh, that's a cool choice, but then it's also harder than to recreate it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
But-
because it happens so
Yeah.
organically that it's hard
Yes.
to make it look as good. P.T. Anderson announced this as his follow up to Magnolia, an Adam Sandler comedy at a press conference.
Mm.
News was greeted with laughter by the ensemble press. When Punch Drunk Love eventually played, Anderson won the Best Director award at Cannes and nominated for other festivals. Months later, Sandler was nominated for a Golden Globe. Yeah, so that not Academy Awards, but
Right.
which is the only one we try.
It's not, yeah, but did he do that to like purposely misdirect people? Because it's not an Adam Sandler comedy, like
Probably.
because that's what
Yeah.
like everyone would think of.
Yeah, if you said that, you were thinking like, yeah, stupid dumb comedy.
Right. Yeah.
The four blonde brothers who muscle Barry are played by four actual brothers.
Okay.
During a promotional interview for Magnolia, a journalist asked Anderson which actors he would like to work with in the future. Anderson replied that he would like to work with Adam Sandler and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, okay.
The journalist believed Anderson was joking because of the two actors are from such different backgrounds and have very different acting styles. However, Anderson's next two films did indeed feature these two actors.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anyone at this point that he's like he hasn't worked with yet that he wants to. I bet Leo's one of them, which he now
has.
has with the new one. Yeah.
He just, yeah, I mean, you definitely can feel this is like, okay, let me make something that's completely different than Magnolia.
Oh, for sure.
And not as huge in scope and all those things. Cause, because all the storylines and stuff, it just said he deliberately wanted to make something very different than the rigors of making Magnolia. Yeah. It's not nothing about here we go, maybe. Philip Seymour Hoffman remained in character during his time on the film. It was only after his final shot that he dropped the character and introduced himself to the actors that played his Mormon lackeys. So he's supposed to be a Mormon Utah, I guess.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
Hoffman would then return to Utah almost every year for the Sundance Film Festival and would meet up with these actors each time. So I guess they pulled a bunch of people from.
Nice.
They really filming in Utah, I guess. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah, maybe.
Unusually, John Bryan composed music for the film while filming was taking place, experimenting with tones and sounds, making particular note of what writer and director P.T. Anderson was responding. Bryan's score would then be played on set, helping to influence the tone of the film. That's
that
cool.
makes sense too, because of the integration with it. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Cool.
I don't remember if you and I talked about this, but I know when Blake was on the pod, we talked about this where like people don't need to stay in character. Like you don't need to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, like
The method acting.
yeah, I understand it with, especially when we get to our next film, like Daniel Day-Lewis, that's what he's always done. And he's the one that kind of started it or popularized it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And took it to the extreme.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. People don't need to do that. Especially
I
good
mean-
actors. It's like really good actors don't need to do that. Like they can just, when it's
But-
rolling, they're there, and then they can,
Well,
you know.
I mean, it's not that. I don't think they.
but also I'm not an actor, so I
I don't know
can't.
if they do it by choice or. I mean,
Sure.
it's just. I think it's their style. Like right, like
Right.
it's like everyone has their own routine of how they can get into character.
That's
Some
true.
probably need to stay there to stay in the mental space to really create the performance they want to create. Others can turn it on and off, and it's just
Sure.
and if you learn that you're like, if I turn it off, it takes me a while to get back on, and you get to like, and you just kind of go in deep. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to question their method, especially
No, yeah.
especially if it's Philip Seymour Hoffman and
Yeah,
Daniel
of
Day
course.
Lewis,
Of course.
because
Two of the best. Yeah, I
I'm
know.
not gonna question
No.
their methods.
No.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is definitely. I still think honestly, it's kind of just wrapping up here on this, but
Yeah.
I still think Heart Eight's my favorite one so far.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, and then Boogie Nights.
Then Magnolia.
Magnolia.
Oh, so they just been getting worse so far.
This film.
Next one's a huge one. We'll see how you feel about next one.
But yeah, so let's know what you think so far.
Yeah.
If you've seen all these, which one, how you would rate them? Because what would you say yours are? Did you put Boogie Nights higher?
I don't know, because I mean, of the four, this one is at the bottom, but I really like all the other three.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how I would rate them.
Gun to your head.
Yeah. Let's do. Let's do Magnolia, Boogie Nights, Heart 8,
Oh wow. Okay. So
Punch Drunk Love.
all right.
I really like Magnolia.
yeah. Okay.
Like I said, when we did that pod, like even over 3 hours, and I was like, sure. Like I was down.
Not me.
I know you weren't.
All right. We'll let us know what you would
Yeah.
rate so far. And obviously you can. I shouldn't say obviously. If you're new, you wouldn't know. But regular listeners know you can email us at feedback@screentimepod.com and let us know your thoughts, that or anything else you want to share about this or previous podcasts. You can also DM us and on a lot of the social platforms or leave a comment on YouTube. So if you'd like, you can like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And if
To the next film?
all on Screen Time Pop. And our next film.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to go into that yet,
No,
because you normally do before that, so I
Yeah,
didn't want you to
I'm just
sign off.
I'm
and,
just
that's okay. I just didn't want you to sign
just
off.
winging it and doing a little freestyle.
Yeah, all right. Sorry to interrupt your flow.
No. So our next movie is There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna have a guest on this one.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yeah. Very big movie that you said you've never seen,
Correct.
which is very exciting.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. But yeah, and then so all that aside, if you'd like to follow
Yeah.
either one of us on Instagram, I'm at J Youngbar.
And I'm Jared Youngbar.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.